Hi everyone, good morning. It is State Action Day for Pennsylvania 2020. So last year was my first State Action Day and we held it in September. We all went to Harrisburg, all of the district activist leaders went to Harrisburg and met with our elected officials to talk about important policy points that affect the MS community and beyond. Today, of course, with the limitations of COVID-19, we are having to do things not just a little bit differently, but I think, personally, a little bit more engaging. This is an opportunity for everybody to reach out to their elected officials and talk about some points of policy that are very, very important. So the two points that I'm talking about today, throughout the day I'll be reaching out to my elected officials through webcast and phone calls and emails. I already got a response to my first email this morning, and it's not even, I don't know what time it is. It's not even whatever time. But there's 2 points that I'm talking about that are really super important. I'm going to wait for this jet to go by. There's nobody flying except for those people right now in the middle of my live video. Okay, so the first super important part comes on a anniversary for me. So 5 years ago today, I left working full-time at Blair Plastic Surgery, a job that I was at for almost 8 years, that I loved every single day of, that it was a huge part of me. It was my work family, and it was an incredibly difficult decision to make the decision to leave, to step away from working full-time. But the cognitive effects of MS had really taken their toll on me. I had been talking with my bosses for months in advance about MS and how it was impacting me. I had shortened my workday. I was seeing fewer patients. I was ending early. I was taking a long lunch, and I was sustaining myself, but we could all see that there was going to be an end coming sooner rather than later to me working full-time. And one day I went into a room to treat a patient, and I had no idea what I was supposed to be doing, and also was unable to reorient myself to figure out what I was supposed to be doing. And I was operating lasers. So this was not a good recipe. I walked out of the room in tears and directly to my boss and said, I think it's time. So 5 years ago, I left working full-time. I had to leave with only the time that I had accrued of paid vacation. I had a small short-term disability policy that I had taken out years earlier that covered me for a time, but I was not bringing any income in. The Family Care Act is Senate Bill 580 and House Bill 1739. I know because I'm looking at this. But the Family Care Act supports paid family medical leave, so it allows workers to continue to earn a portion of their pay while they take time away to address a serious health condition for themselves, care for a family member with a serious health condition, or take time to care for a new child, whether it be adoption, birth, etc. So here's the thing, 55% of leaves that were taken under FMLA, which we're all familiar with, that's the Family and Medical Leave Act. Now that's federal. So it really is an important piece of legislation that protects unpaid job leave. What we're talking about is job leave that's at the state level, so your job is protected, but because you've been paying into this fund, you are still getting payment back out. So it establishes paid leave. It's an insurance fund that you pay into. It's a very small percentage of your paycheck that you pay into. So this is not money that is coming from raising taxes. It's money that we are paying in ourselves. So this allows leave, and it's up to 20 weeks of job protected leave for yourself or 12 weeks for family care. So it's a nice rounded out amount of time. So I like this number. Well, I don't like this number. I don't like this number, but I like that it's here. There's an estimated 43.5 million adults in the U.S. providing unpaid caregiving. So when I think about that, I always think about my husband, who married me even though he knew I had MS and we didn't know what the future would hold, and ended up becoming my biggest MS ally. But he has had to take time off consistently to care for me at different times. I know I look great today. It's the under eye concealer. in the quarantine. But it is, there have been times when I've been hospitalized, I've had to travel for neurology appointments, or I'm just not okay, and I need my husband to be there to ensure that I stay safe. Legislation like the Family Care Act would protect him and would allow him to be able to care for me as we go on. So that's the first big point during my virtual state action day, is the Family Care Act. That's something that you can look into more about. It's Pennsylvania paid leave legislation. Again, it's State Bill 580 and House Bill 1739. The other, which I know many of you have heard me talk about, is prior authorization reform. This is House Bill 1194, Senate Bill 920. Prior authorization is a really tricky minefield, is the only way is what it feels like to me. It is between the step therapy parts, which is sometimes referred to as fail first, to the weeks that it can sometimes take to get authorization to even try a medication or get necessary imaging done. It is just one of those that has you pulling your hair out. Time is brain with multiple sclerosis. The longer that I have to wait to start therapies or to have testing done to see if something else is going on, I am continuing to have my body attack me. I don't have time to wait. I cannot wait weeks and weeks for medications. I cannot wait weeks and weeks for testing. There has to be a change. And every single one of you have had prior authorization affect your life. You may not even know it. You may have had a quick authorization. You may have just not even thought about the fact that when your doctor called in a medication to your pharmacy, and then the pharmacist called and said, oh, hey, it's going to take us another 3 to 5 business days. That's prior authorization, and it's preventing everyone from getting what they need. It is a block to care. It's a roadblock to care. So we obviously need some prior authorization reform. What we are asking for is that instead of prior authorization taking days and weeks, which always feels like it takes weeks for me, this is a streamlined process that would require health plans to respond to prior authorization requests within 2 business days. That's really fast. I don't think I've ever had a prior authorization response in 2 business days. So it utilizes the standard of care also. So there's a web portal that would be used instead of faxing pages and pages of documentation. There is expedited coverage that can be determined in the case of an emergency. So you could have a quicker prior authorization if you are needing emergency care instead of, again, waiting weeks and weeks. There's also exemptions for step therapy. So my first experience with step therapy was right after I was diagnosed in October 2010. I was diagnosed, my neurologist prescribed medication, and my insurance company said no, she needs to fail another medication first. First of all, I don't fail medications. Medications fail me. So just want to make that really clear. But right out of the gate, I was denied the medication that my neurologist prescribed for me. So my insurance company was beginning to dictate care at the time of diagnosis. How am I supposed to have a medication fail me when I just found out I have MS? This is totally didn't make any sense. So I got the second medication. I ended up having that medication fail me, got the first medication, got the second medication, but again, right out of the gate, I'm having to deal with this, and that's just, it's unfair, and it is, it has to be, reform is almost a strong enough word to what has to happen to prior authorizations. We want to make sure that health plans are supporting our physician decisions, not changing them, not making those decisions for our physicians. We choose our physicians for a reason. We build trust. They know us, and we need to have this prior authorization reform. So those are the 2 parts of State Action Day that throughout the day today, I have calls with elected officials. I have emails. Like I said, I already had a response to one email, which is so super cool. Love seeing that first thing in the morning. And you can follow along with me. in September, I had lots of pictures. I was tweeting throughout the day my pictures and my adventures. I'll be doing the same thing today, so you can follow me on Twitter. You can follow me here. I'll be doing it the same way. But it is very important that even with our global pandemic, that you understand that Pennsylvania is still in session. Our elected officials are still working, and it's still important for us to be giving feedback, for us to be sharing what's going on, and to lend your voice to the stories here. You all have had an issue with prior authorization, I'm sure. Family Care Act touches every single one of us. So think about these things and think about how you can help make an impact on what's going on, and how, again, you can lend your voice to mine. So follow along with me today. We'll be doing Virtual State Action Day. You can see that I got dressed and everything, and I really appreciate all of your support. And as a district activist leader, one of many across the United States, I just want to say thank you. Thank you to the National MS Society for equipping us with all of the information that we need for people that need things in bullet points. The MS Society and our staffers that take care of us are incredible. So, thank you to them, and thank you to you and to our elected officials who are listening to me and people like me today as we talk about the Family Care Act and prior authorization reform. Thanks so much. I'll catch up with you guys a little bit later today. Bye.